Ladies and gentlemen, dear viewers and listeners, I'm glad to welcome you all here at one of the Sustainable Business and Circular Economy series, today focused on healthy living. My name is Nikita Polyakov. I'm editor-in-chief of E15 Daily and will be our host for today. Together, we will hear hopefully some inspirational insights into what is right. And I believe that we gather all here because we know or believe that we know or feel what is right. Healthy living is not a new topic, and we all know that. But we also know that it has been increasingly pressuring as the number of issues we've been facing in the past decades has been increasing, and it has been increasing due to people's and companies and nations' ignorance. This conference is to show that sustainability matters in terms of leading by example or being in the process of change for the better and more environmentally friendly approach. Nordic businesses are ahead of this evolution, and I know that they can share their best practices with the Czech companies. I think it's a beneficial approach for all of us. Our speakers will touch upon a series of topics connected to a better way of living, be it at home or on this planet as a whole. And as we are all in this together, I encourage you to ask the questions through Slido at NordChemSustain. You can find this hashtag on YouTube under the streaming window that you're using. We will try to address as many of your questions as possible, so please feel free to ask them. And we would also like to thank Nordic Chamber for organizing this event with the support of embassies of Finland, Denmark, Sweden, and Iceland. We also organized this event in cooperation with the Confederation of Industry of the Czech Republic and Association of Small Medium-Sized Enterprises and Crafts. And now I would like to welcome His Excellency Jukka Pesola, Ambassador of the Republic of Finland to the Czech Republic. Please, Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Good morning and greetings from my home office. I hope that you can see me and hear me. And it's my great pleasure to say a couple of words in the beginning of this webinar. First of all, thank you for joining us today. I'm looking forward to a really productive seminar and also lively discussion. And also I would like to thank the Nordic Chamber of Commerce and of course my Nordic colleagues in cooperating in order to make this possible, and also other partners who are behind this webinar. As you know, so this is the first in series of webinars focusing on sustainable business and circular economy. So actually next month we will talking about smart cities and e-mobility. So it pays to follow what we are planning to do and what we are going to do this year around circular economy and sustainable business. However, today our focus is on healthy living and its different aspects, whether we are talking about energy or indoor air quality. There is something to learn for every one of us. I'm really happy that we have a great group of panelists and speakers, and also I'm quite eager to hear their views and positions on this subject. As you know, saving the planet is good business. And good business today is saving the planet. Now it's time to start, and I wish you a really productive webinar. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you for a short introduction. And before we start our first panel, I would like to welcome here Dagmar Plevachová, Vice President of Nordic Chamber. Dagmar, please. Can you say a couple of words?
Good morning, Nikita. Thank you very much. Thank you very much in the name of all of the chamber and all our members to His Excellency, the Finnish Ambassador. Very kind. You have been saying all what is today's event about. I don't need to add anything. I'm just grateful to have you here, to have the support of all the embassies, because we had a working group which has been quite intensively working and preparing this second round of our conference or webinar series, which we have as a main topic for the chamber. And I hope it will be at least as good as contributional as the last one, the first one in October. Thank you very much for all the colleagues from the embassies for support. And I wish you all an enjoyable, contributional, and hopefully also enriching 3 hours. Thanks and have fun.
Thank you. So without further ado, we will start our first panel, the panel on energy efficiency and renewable energy sources and urban solution. Well, energy and society of sustainability is one of the most important topics. We know that successful transformation to low emission or no emission production is a key goal. Our panelists will show a number of ways of how we can achieve such transformation faster, cheaper, or cleaner. A quick note to all the panelists, please try to be on time so that we have a chance maybe for a couple of minutes after your presentation to have a quick discussion. So our first panelist is Gabor Molnar, geothermal engineer at Manvit Engineering, Iceland. Gabor, please.
Thank you very much, Nikita, and good morning to every listener. I will share my screen in a minute to show my presentation. So I'm Gabor Molnar from Manvit Engineering office, located in Iceland. Actually, I'm talking from Hungary, from the Hungarian office of Manvit. I'm geothermal engineer, participated in several geothermal energy projects in the past decades. And I would like to give you a brief overview about geothermal energy. Where is geothermal energy in the role of renewables? We can compare it, for example, by the CO2 emission of the life cycle of the projects. Geothermal energy is in quite a good position. It has low CO2 emission during installation, during operation, and during abandoning of the plants. We can compare by the financial feasibility. It has good feasibility, it has low payback time, but it all depends on the energy amount what can be harvested from the earth, with one of the main parameters of the energy amount is the temperature, and this is what I would like to show you today, that the geothermal energy is basically available anywhere in the world, but it depends on the temperature, and different temperature can be utilized by different technologies, and I will show you a brief overview about the different technologies. Usually groundwater above 30 degrees is called to be thermal water or geothermal brine, which doesn't mean that the colder temperatures are not useful. Cold waters or low temperature brines could be used by geothermal heat pumps, even by large district heating systems, or even by large infrastructural or industry projects. The medium temperature range is very widely used for heating, and the highest temperature ranges above approximately 100 degrees plus minus could be used for electricity production. There are good examples in Europe for this. I will start with the medium temperature. That's the most obvious and most widely spread utilization of the geothermal energy. Most of us may know the famous Lindell diagram, which shows several types of utilizations or technologies that requires heat. Here are a few examples. On top of this list there is district heating. Very large systems could be heated by geothermal. Good example is Reykjavik in Iceland, which is fully heated by geothermal. And something similar is Starting 9 in Budapest. Just a slide about it. There are a very scattered existing distribution system in Budapest in Hungary, and there are different temperatures, different reservoirs under the city. So there will be a combination of the different technologies and different energies implemented. I hope then in 1 year time I can show you some good examples or good results about this project. The lowest temperatures could be directly used. Cold water can be used for cooling. That's very obvious or evident solution, but still it's very rarely used. It's maybe because the very thin window of temperature where the cold water could be used directly for cooling, 5 to 15 degrees Celsius could be used. But that's a very efficient solution, and could be used more than today. But still, what is really used, especially in Germany, there are a lot of good examples for large-scale geothermal heat pump system. Even the high temperatures, like 80 degree, could be used for heat pump system, and the temperature could be increased more, and it can heat up even a large district heating system, as I mentioned. And the COP, the efficiency ratio of those systems are very good, can be even 8 or 9 or COP. So very efficient system could be installed by utilizing low or medium temperature geothermal brines for providing energy, heating energy. Another technology is the borehole system. Everybody knows the family house scale heat pump heating system, where a 100-meter shallow well harvesting 10-15 degrees Celsius heat from the ground, and some heating and cooling could be provided by this technology. It has some efficiency, it has some payback time. In most cases, it's questionable if it's worth or not without any subsidy. But it can be implemented in large scale also. If you have, or someone has a unused geothermal well, or a dry geothermal well, or a dry old hydrocarbon well, double pipe or a borehole heat exchanger could be installed into it. That's not a new technology, but it's now it's not under development. So there are some examples. There is one power plant like this or heating plant like this recently built in Hungary, but there are a lot to do. It has low efficiency, but if a driver could be utilized, then it's a very good solution to install a heat exchanger like this into the well. And yeah, there are the high temperature utilizations. High temperature is appropriate for electricity production. The conventional way is to build large-scale power plants. There are 200, 300 megawatts geothermal power plants in Iceland. There are large power plants in Turkey, in Italy, which uses geothermal brine above 120, 130, or even 200, 300 degrees Celsius temperature to generate electricity. There are several manufacturers who provide solutions, tailor-made solutions for geothermal electricity generation power plants. They are in most cases EPC contractors, so design and build the power plants. It has good efficiency and very good life cycle visibility, CO2 emission reduction. Another way, that's the large industrial scale. But there is a kind of a new development of geothermal electricity production is the modular technology, which are now offered by several manufacturers in the world, in Europe. And because the main idea is to make it smaller, make it as optimal as possible, and then results a very good efficiency even in low temperature ranges. So electricity production from 80 degrees Celsius is possible. In most cases, it's not feasible economically, but from 100 degrees, it is feasible and economically, technologically feasible. And not only from geothermal resource. This technology can utilize waste heat of an industry process or heating systems. And that's why it's a very rapidly spreading technology for electricity production, small scale electricity production. So I'm talking about some 100, 200 kilowatt electricity production per unit, but they can, as you can see in the picture, they can installed in a row, so it can multiply. that's kind of a very good amendment for any already operating geothermal system, heating system in small industry scale also. It is possible to use. But what makes the geothermal energy really sustainable or feasible, that's the combination of the different technologies. As you can see in the graph, the heating system, of course, adapting to the weather conditions. So in the winter, there is high heating demand. In the summer, there is almost nothing or low. And the rest of the heat amount that can be harvested from the earth could be used for any other purpose, like electricity production or heating for any other technology processes. And the key of the sustainability to reinject or just let to flow away as low temperature as possible, and then this means you can harvest or you can utilize a large amount of the harvested heat. If just talking from the other way around, and that's a very common solution. If there is a geothermal power plant built on a high temperature resource or even a low temperature as shown above, in most cases the brine should be reinjected into the ground. But still, in this brine, what is coming out from the power plant has some 60 to 80 degrees Celsius temperature, so it can be utilized further, for example, for agriculture, heating greenhouses, soil heating with low temperature. Another possibility of utilization of the outflow temperature is to use in district heating system, heating houses and or generating tap water for houses or using spas. And still the geothermal brine has some 30, 40, 50 degree Celsius temperature, and it can go to several purposes like spas, or in this example, some fish farms or hydroponic systems. And this ensures the highest amount of energy gathered from the same resources. And also, that's a very common issue with geothermal systems. There are some gases in the brine, or there are some steams in the brine, which also could be utilized. If there is methane, it can be used in gas engines. If there is CO2, then it can be used in the greenhouses, agriculture. So a very feasible and combined system could be built on the geothermal resource. And this is the main intention of not only the engineers like us, but the investors also, to utilize the energy as efficient as possible. And geothermal energy is very much appropriate for this. Yeah, that's it. I think I'm in the time frame. Thank you very much for watching this. And if you have any question, just feel free to ask.
Thank you very much, Gabor. There are questions actually that are connected to the Czech Republic and the Czech province. What are the options for geothermal energy system in the Czech Republic?
Well, yes, in the Czech Republic there are what I've shown in the medium temperature range. In some spots there could be high temperature harvested, but in most of the Czech Republic is appropriate for geothermal heating for sure, for heat pump utilizations for sure, maybe for low temperature electricity production systems. So yeah, geothermal energy could be developed and implemented in the territory of your country.
And how large is the potential? So if you talk about maybe neighboring countries, or if you put it in a context, because you've shown some use case, but if you look at it from maybe a big picture of this region, how can we achieve using these concepts even more? What is the future, even in terms of maybe some support of this geothermal
Yeah, I just put back this slide which shows the map of Europe. Of course, the prospect of Czech Republic is not comparable with Iceland, where there is high temperature just near to the surface. And also Hungary is in a very lucky situation regarding geothermal energy because it's available in high temperatures, available in shallow depth. But it's Czech Republic is somewhat comparable to the most of the Europe. And the best example is Germany, where there are very large geothermal systems and also geothermal power plants in operation. You have to drill down to 2, 3, or even 4 kilometers to the ground to harvest large temperatures for electricity production or for heating. But still, it's feasible. It also depends a little bit on the energy prices, which are very high in Germany, and there are governmental intentions to implement renewable energies, especially geothermal energy. But with proper governmental directions or legislation, it could be implemented in the same way as in Germany.
You touched upon governmental support. My next question, basically, in order to maybe roll this out, scale it, somehow you need governmental support on European level as other renewable sources. Do you see this changing in terms of geothermal energy? You named Germany, but what are tendencies in other countries?
I think, yes, it can be clearly seen that the European Union has this intention to increase the support for renewable energies, and geothermal energy is one of the prioritized energy types. It's developing slowly, I can say, but it's developing. Geothermal energy, I think it's true for any kind of renewable energies. They are and they have to be feasible without governmental supports, because otherwise they are not cannot live in the market. But of course, any support or any subsidy can facilitate the developments, and this is what's happening. Supports can speed up the developments and larger scale projects to build up.
Gabor, thank you very much. Thank you for your insights.
Thank you very much. Thank you for listening.
Perfect. Our next guests, our next step, so to say, towards renewable energy future comes from ČEZ, David Martínek, and he will talk about smart future of modern energy. David, the floor is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I will try to switch the presentation on. Hope it works and you can see it well.
Yeah, all nice and well.
Great. So, first of all, I would like to thank the Nordic Chamber for inviting me, and I hope, as I said, you can see the presentation and you can hear me well. My name is David Martínek. I work as a public affairs manager in ČEZ ESCO company. Firstly, I would like to introduce ČEZ ESCO very shortly. We are 100% daughter company of ČEZ. ČEZ Group, maybe you know it, is a state-owned company focused mainly on generation and distribution of power. So we know quite a lot about energy for many years. And last decade, we have also learned that the world is changing very fast, and in energy sector, this is valid very significantly. As a result of decarbonization and sustainability pressure, we are expecting rising demand for renewables, also decentralization of generation, because nowadays the power is generated centrally and then distributed to the customers, and also a lot more projects including energy efficiency. Therefore, ČEZ ESCO was established to provide B2B customers quite wide portfolio of energy services, like energy savings, renewables, as I said, energy management, electromobility, something we call green energy, and I will talk about it a little bit more later, and many others. So now let's switch to the presentation itself. Let's say that the main drivers are 5 points, which I mentioned here on the first slide. First one is a very strong regulatory pressure to protect the environment. All of you probably know that the European Union wants to be the first emission neutral continent by 2050. And they are increasing the greenhouse gas reduction targets for 2030. So this is first very important driver. Second one is that customers want to be sustainable. We can probably, or we will hear a lot about it during today's event. And they want to be also self-sufficient, which is also quite related to the COVID pandemic, because everyone realized that it's not like a casual thing to have everything fine, to have electricity and so on. So they also want to be self-sufficient or resilient as views. Third point is demand for cost-effective solutions. Our customers want to aim on their core business. They don't want to, let's say, solve the energy because it's a big issue. And there are also not so many experts on the market. So but the demand is high, and the price of the technologies is getting lower, which is also very good for let's say implementing trends of modern energy. This is related to renewable energy sources, to electromobility, to smart lighting, design and build methods, and so on. So the time is quite busy in this segment, and we are still developing something new. The last point is, of course, the digitalization, which is all around us, and also somehow entering the energy sector. So you can remotely control a lot of things, and you can implement into your solutions quite a lot, let's say, digital parts. So as you can see, the combination of these trends and of course the political pressure and subsidizing are turning the passive customers into active and responsible customers, often somehow connected with production of energy and also storage by accumulation. So it's quite, let's say, customer demand for effective and sustainable solutions in general. So we try to somehow help our customers to be sustainable and to contribute to a green future. So our solutions are always based on, let's say, 3 basic factors. First one is that we achieve energy savings. Second one is that we combine with renewable energy sources. In Czech conditions, mean mainly photovoltaics. And of course, our solutions reduce carbon emissions. So we are trying to be the partner for B2B sector to meet criteria of European Green Deal. The portfolio of our services is very wide, starting with some, let's say, digital products like measurement and control, meaning the regulation systems via the hardware, like renewables, meaning photovoltaics, combined with energy storage, also electromobility, and of course commodity products like green energy from renewables, which we can deliver to our customers, usually combined with some, let's say, more simple hardware things like HVAC, heating systems, cogeneration, which we see as some kind of let's say transition source from the coal energy to let's say 100% renewable. So quite a lot of products, but we see the future and we try to propose our customers the combined solutions, because energy is, let's say, quite complicated and big sector, mainly in industry, for industrial customers, and also for public sector. So we try to combine all of products which you saw on the previous slide, to achieve more savings, more decarbonization, and of course more productivity. So we call them somehow like smart city, which is provided mainly for the public customers, for the cities and the regions, like the public lighting and energy management and so on. Then, of course, the technical facility management, because somehow, of course, if you build something, you have to operate it and maintain it. So this is very simple, that it's somehow joined together. Energy performance contracting is, let's say, quite not complicated but let's say global thing, which focuses on buildings. The reconstruction or construction of building with guaranteed savings. I will have a separate slide for this. Then, of course, the building services engineering, quite a standard things on the development market. And of course, on the top of all these services, you can have energy management, which takes care for energy flows and is gathering data, and based on the data, you can save more energy. So this is somehow our attitude, how to realize the energy savings. We are also trying to develop, based on the feedback from our customers, the new products or let's say services. One of them is, we call it photovoltaics as a service, which means that you just rent us your roof, and you sign a contract that you will buy a green energy from these photovoltaics installed on the roof. And we realize it, we finance it, and after 15 years, you can let's say buy it into your pocket. So that's kind of the service. We see this as quite good, and also based on the feedback from customers, that they don't want to invest into, let's say, something which is not their core business. So we just take care of it. They are green, they are saving the environment, and everyone is fine with that. So this is photovoltaic as a service. Then EPC projects, which means it's a shortcut for energy performance contracting. So we do some kind of analysis on the building or some group of buildings. We put on the table the options how to complete the implementation of proposed measures. And let's say the biggest magic is that the savings are contractually guaranteed. Means that if we don't fulfill the contract, we have to pay you the difference between the let's say contract and the reality. EPC is often used, or was initially, let's say, developed and used for the public sector. I will show you some references. But nowadays we can see that it's also spreading into private sector. So we see that this market is developing quite a lot. And again, I think it's very good because you pay the investments, let's say, from the savings. So it's not heavy for your capex budgets. Quite fine also in these pandemic times when every crown is important. Now a few pictures, because these are let's say always more interesting. The references like EPC on Czech Technical University in Prague. Let's say that we modernized 30 buildings in 9 areas. They will save about 5.1 million of water costs. It was something a little more than 230 million Czech crowns investment, and the guaranteed savings, which is the most important factor of the contract, is almost 22 million per year. Last but not least, almost 4,500 saved tons of carbon, which is also, I think, very good. It is also the biggest project EPC in Czech Republic. Next is Rudolfinum. You can probably also see it behind me. It's a historical Czech building used for exhibitions and concerts. So I can just show you that the EPC is also possible in historical building. A lot of you probably driving cars around this building, and you cannot see from outside that it's very modern inside. So of course the initial design is or remain the same, but inside it's let's say very modern technologies. For example, because it's beside the Vltava River, so it's cooled down with the water from Vltava. Again, guaranteed many technologies modernized, like heating, cooling, lighting, regulation, and so on. We also related to energy management. We have also interconnected the timetable with the concert halls and so on. So we know how to regulate the energy to set up the best temperatures inside and to be efficient as much as possible. Maybe the latest job from our side is, let's say, in 10 years, I think the biggest photovoltaics in Czech Republic, which is installed on Škoda Auto Service Center in Kosmonosy. Also, Škoda wants to be green, so we agreed on cooperation, and we installed 450 megawatts of ecological energy per year on area of 2,200 square meters on the roofs, and hopefully the project will continue also with another parts of Škoda factory. This is an example of photovoltaics as a service. So Škoda didn't want to invest, so we take care for it, and we are selling the energy. From my side, this is the last slide. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask.
Thank you, David. You're in time. It's amazing, your time management, guys. There is a question. If you have a statistic, do you have some stats about the share of sustainable energy usage in the Czech company landscape, I think amongst the Czech companies, as well as production, that means factories, as well as offices? Do you have some approximate idea?
I'm not sure, to be honest, what are the concrete numbers. Let's say it's growing because all of these renewables and modern technologies are subsidized. So it's somehow, let's say, getting closer, but still the energy mix is very clear, and I think you can find the stats from energy regulation on the website.
Mm-hmm. There is a lot of debate about governments, Czech politics going maybe in your way and helping you out. I mean, energy companies with pushing these technologies even further. What is the situation today in terms of your discussion with the Czech government, maybe to subsidize some of these products, or maybe to give some other benefits?
That's a good question. It really depends on sectors, because I think in the industry sector it's quite okay, but the public sector, which I think or the state itself should be a leader in this to show to the others that it's a way which we should take for the future. And this is, let's say, the weakest part, I think. So all of us will have to work a lot for it. Now there are, let's say, some obstacles like that. In case of state-owned buildings, there is a legislation related budgeting, which is not allowing, for example, the EPC contracts. even if it is guaranteed. So let's say that the terrain is quite tough, and this should be, let's say, more supported from the side of the state. And state should also be, let's say, the first one who is doing this, because it's visible for the others. And hand in hand with industry, these are supposed to be leaders in this area.
I've been hearing about your project with Škoda for quite a while now. Many news, many different cooperation models, etc. So, what can you expand on this story? What is your deal, or to say, what is your plan with Škoda altogether? Do you plan to create like a leader in energy, contemporary energy technologies with the largest car maker?
This is also one of the possibilities. I think that you can read a lot of it in the media, as you said. This is more the question for my strategy colleagues from headquarters, because let's say that it's a long-term negotiation with all of the possibilities. But in Česko, we are realizing, let's say, concrete projects with let's say current technologies. So we started on somehow things they are available now. And I hope that the cooperation for the future will be of course upscaled, but for the moment we are developing in Česko mainly the photovoltaics for them.
And also your cooperation on the electromobility field is part of Česko profile. Is that correct?
Yeah. Let's say it was quite. It was a little bit my aim to not include the electromobility today, because I know that there is planned another round focused on electromobility and smart cities. So there were not a lot of slides about it. But of course, the electromobility is also a part of our scope. Of course, we see a future in electromobility or somehow partially. So maybe I can talk about it on the next webinar. But we are also using electromobiles. We are delivering it to regions and cities who are, let's say, the best types of customers, because the type of operating the electric cars is best for them, and they are not polluting the city and so on. So I think we can talk about it quite a lot later.
It's been a nice sneak peek for the next webinar. Thank you, David, for your insights.
Thanks.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Quick summary. There is a pressure on the energy market, as we've heard, to become green. ČEZ is part of this process. Its daughter company, Česko, has entered the contemporary energy sector with a modern approach, trying to respond to current energy trends. The combination of these trends and political pressure tend to turn passive customers into active and responsible ones. It is beneficial that there is authentic customer demand for cost-effective and smart solutions, and there are many. And we see that Česko is trying successfully to provide them. Our next guests will also talk about renewable energy from a perspective of 100% total carbon neutrality. His name is František Vašek, and he's from Nano Energy. František, hello.
Hello, pleased to meet you. Thank you.
Yes, the next 15 minutes are yours.
Yeah, let me share the screen. Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Perfect. So thank you very much for the invitation. It's a great pleasure to talk here today about our endeavor to bring 100% renewable energy to the Czech market. Already on the first slide, you can see a glimpse into our trading floor, so to say, which might be smaller compared to large energy corporations, but maybe even more flexible. And as you can see, our traders and analysts are watching the climate maps in overall Europe under the aquaponic tree in order to most efficiently trade with renewable energy and support us with supply of pure renewable energy to the customers, because the way we deal with green energy is quite different from other market players, because we purchase only renewable energy from specific sources on the Czech territory. And in order to guarantee the supply of green energy in every hour to our customers, we need to purchase more. and of course trade with the surpluses and shortages on the short-term markets. And that's in the DNA of the company, and that's why we can guarantee only 100% renewable, because there's no green like green, and we can see on the market different ways how to provide green energy to the customers, from guarantees of origin only, which are kind of stick on the mix of the energy from the energy exchange, to the new trend, which is building their own renewable sources on the rooftop or on brownfields or on agricultural land, like agrivoltaics, etc. So this is what I will try to talk about, how to move from the early stage, which was guarantees of origin, to the new phase where renewable energy will be a standalone, viable energy system which can exist on its own. Nano Energies is a company which is 12 years on the market. There's 70 of us. Most of the staff are programmers, analysts. So we deal more with the energy flows and not with installation of assets or hardware. We deal really with smart remote control of the assets and with trading with the energy and supply of renewables. My responsibility in the company is for the retail and consulting services. So what we see in the strategies of our clients, be it B2B companies, large corporations, or already even SMEs, is a lot of interest in sustainability in general. And a good sign is that despite difficulties of COVID, both sides, the companies as well as customers, are increasingly demanding green products and authentic green products, and can recognize any type of greenwashing better than they had before. So it's a good sign that this movement is really strong. And of course, renewable energy is a new thing, although technically it's been available for a long time, but now it's really competing with the conventional energy. And the sign that these two worlds are in a little bit of a clash is that there are many new possibilities that we see in Western Europe, like community energy systems or peer-to-peer energy trading or sharing of energy. And all these new phenomena, of course, are at this moment minuscule compared to large generation sources and the conventional energy system. But gradually they are penetrating the market. And what is the most crucial and what is the most needed is, of course, legislation and rules, how the new renewable energy system can emerge in the conventional one. And it needs to be said that in these terms, we are a little bit lagging because smart energy meters will be installed between 24 and 27, first with customers over 6 megawatt hours of annual consumption, and legislation for communities is not yet in place, although there are a lot of funds flowing to the Czech Republic, like for instance the modernization fund with 150 million Czech crowns supporting renewables. And there's been a first call in January this year for application of interest of new projects, and which can be even in conceptual phase. And it has exceeded 7 times the actual allocation of this fund. So there's a great demand for renewables and for accumulation and for new technologies, geothermal technologies, etc. Of course, most of the projects which have applied have been from companies, but in terms of installed capacity, large investment groups have filed the biggest projects. So I think there's a lot of work which needs to be done in order to support also small companies, individuals, etc. And how to make this really happen, how to help renewables to start living in the conventional energy system. From our point of view in Nano Energies, the way is to synchronize the way the energy system works in a generation side and also in the consumption side, because the energy system has traditionally been designed to support demand of industry. And this is changing because this demand is driven by different forces than natural forces, which drive a generation of electricity from renewables. And synchronization of these two worlds will lead to efficient use of renewables and possibility to kind of replace carbon intensive and conventional sources. There's been a great discussion last year in November when Czech Coal Commission has proposed our government to phase out from coal in 2038. And we've been active in providing alternative scenario, which calculated even with 2030. Of course, it will be difficult and a lot of generation will need to be covered by natural gas, for instance, because most of the country is gasified and natural gas can solve a lot of needs for flexible generation and also for the heating. But we believe that thanks to flexible management of the sources, this can be achieved earlier. The discussion is still ongoing. At the end of March, I've read an article that 8 out of 14 members of the government support earlier phase out, but we will see if it's 2033 or later. And now to the concrete examples how we solve the challenge how to synchronize generation and consumption. This is called flexibility management, and we are part of a project on the transmission system operator who is responsible for balancing the whole energy system. And this market is gradually opening. The new net code of TSO allows for these smaller sources to take part in the market of auxiliary services, which in real time can help the system to balance. And we've been doing this for last, let's say, 3 years practically. We manage more than 40 megawatts of flexibility, mostly in cogeneration units and heat production and now also consumption of electricity. An example can be a large warehouse with refrigeration where we can control the compression engines basically in real time, and within technical limitations and within operating limitations of a client, we can provide them with smart control of their source. And this can be marketed on short-term markets or provided as a virtual block of 10 megawatts, which will reduce to 1 megawatt to transmission system operator. And this is a great way how not only to monetize on the removing of inefficiency in the energy system, and also to provide customers with more sophisticated propositions. Because traditional central procurements of our clients has always focused on lowest possible energy price, which can be achieved by smart hedging and smart strategy of purchase of energy on energy exchange. But in future, it will be even more about not only the minimum possible price and most favorable payment conditions and most tolerant payment periods, but also about the added values of cutting basically the energy intensity in general, because cutting energy intensity reduces carbon footprint in the end, because when not only the overall energy consumption, but its timely use will lead to more renewables being used and more accumulation being activated in specific times, and the whole energy system will move more towards what we call flexible living organism, which will breathe with the planet basically. So that's our belief. Maybe it sounds a little bit of a dream, but it is happening. It's already happening, and it's great that net code of TSO allows for other players like flexibility aggregators to take part in the energy system. If we look at the timeline from the previous presentation, we've seen that energy efficiency and cutting of the overall consumption is still a big topic. That's great, and I admire what ČEZ is doing in these terms, that they really help companies to achieve investments in more efficient technologies. And now what we bring in the game is how to control them and how to run them the most efficiently from the perspective of the energy markets. Renewable sources of energy, as I said at the beginning, we are in the phase where existing renewables are being marketed in order to kind of tear them apart from the conventional energy system and let them live on their specific market and let them be visible to customers and establish at least some connection between renewables and the end customers. Because when renewables are hidden in the conventional energy system and customers feel that they can't decide what type of source they want to consume, then it's more difficult for them to basically grow. So that's what we try to do, to make them visible and make these connections authentic and transparent. Smart energy management, there's a flexibility, and now companies are starting to be interested in offsetting CO2 emissions. There are technologies which are quite expensive. If we take apart planting the trees, then we have sequestration and we have installing of new renewables. And of course, the costs of solving the issue with CO2 already in the air is multiple times more expensive than preventing it. So we should concentrate on preventing production of CO2 at the very source. Cleaner logistics and mobility, it's already been also talked about. I think that's the great example again of inefficiency and unused capacity, because most of the cars are operating 5% of their available time and 95% standing in the street. So that's a great opportunity how to apply the similar principles, how to provide flexibility in mobility. And that's even more crucial than to replace a conventional car with the electric car, really to solve the utilization of them. And the next step that we are trying to offer to our customers, and we've designed a power purchase agreement with the bank financing. There's a high demand for these new sources to emerge. There's an issue that there are not enough projects available readily, and the allowances and administration for new projects can take 3 to 5 years for new wind propeller to be installed, for instance. So that's again something that needs to be promoted, boosted, and new projects need to be identified to help renewables grow even further. Yeah. Let me check the time. Yeah. Okay. So this slide shows basically how do we try to promote renewables in retail in order to educate general public as well as companies that it is possible to run almost solely on renewables. And we carefully mix different types of renewables. So you see this individual mix of our portfolio, which is audited. And this covers the whole demand for customers purely from the renewables. And we achieve 6 times lower carbon footprint than is the average of the Czech Republic, which is one of the worst, to be honest, in Europe at the moment. And this is a quick step for companies how to reduce carbon footprint, because their strategies towards 2030 or maybe sooner, some of them are more brave, is to cut carbon footprint. And green supply is the first step. And having audited purely renewable energy sources helps them. And they can even reflect it in their proposition to their end customers, because these sources are really individual ones. And you can see at the bottom that there's a small water dam run by a family, which is the tradition in their family. And there's a biogas station in Czech municipality, which by the way, wants to share their energy, which they produce from their waste, from their fecals, so to say, with their citizens. and they can efficiently share heat that they produce from this biogas, but they cannot efficiently share electricity, unfortunately, because there is no legislation and no system how this energy can be consumed locally. So this is the next step, what needs to be done. So far, we do it at least this way and try to promote renewables in the eyes of the end consumers. Yeah, so let me wrap up. I think that the steps, that the main topic of this presentation was how to achieve real carbon neutrality. So we have started with reducing total energy consumption. Now we are working on improving the energy efficiency and the flexibility, remove any unused capacity and inefficiency from the system. And then we can really switch to renewables in large extent and allow for the coal phase out. So that's the goal of our company. Of course, we're small compared to large ones, but I think that this is still achievable, and we're glad to be in this market. Thank you very much, and I'm open to questions now.
Thank you very much. If you look at the ambition, because we looked at very macro take on the topic, we can go a little bit deeper in the context of the Czech Republic. If you look at Czech companies and Czech business, and you touched upon this quite a few times, and their ambition to become carbon neutral. Do you think there is some potential, or how far the Czech Republic or Czech businesses in terms of thinking about carbon neutrality?
Yeah, there are great examples of companies who really have their strategies solid, fixed, and now they change the way they do business and also procure energy and operate. And what is becoming even more popular is calculating of the carbon footprint of the whole value chain. So this is like a chain reaction, then really value chain reaction, because the most of carbon footprint comes on the input, surprisingly, not in the operation of the company. So it's about educating the market that they should carefully pick their suppliers in order to reduce carbon footprint, and this puts pressure on the suppliers, and this is how it all starts. And it needs to be said that most of the international corporations that are active on the Czech market are front runners. Of course, there are local companies, even SMEs that are very much focused on sustainability, and also we try to promote them in our portfolio. But large corporations, international, they try to push for this, and we educate them how to really choose a green energy supplier in order to be authentic and audited. So that's the way how to do it.
You talk about international companies. There are a lot of Czech companies that are not yet maybe there because they don't have the example that they can follow. I don't know if there is an answer to this question, and maybe I will try. How to reach those companies? Is the argument, can the argument be finance? Okay, you'll save money if you do it, or what for you is the take? How to approach this topic?
Yeah, of course, total cost for energy is an issue, and that's what companies focus most because of competitiveness and structure of our industry. But gradually, with the possibilities of controlled consumption, and be it optimization behind the meter or even use for auxiliary services, which will come in 2 to 3 years for companies on the consumption side, and also trading of these effects on short-term markets and providing them to TSO. This is another way how to save on total energy costs, and providing these more complex services to them is a way how to re-educate them from not only focusing on price of energy, but on the total cost, including capacity and optimizing the way they operate. So sharing the stories from different business areas where companies has really achieved reduction of total costs is a way, and because word of mouth and inspiration by a competitor is the best example to follow.
Well, I would sign that. Thank you, František. Thank you for your take on the topic.
Thank you very much.
A quick summary, more than ever, people are demanding that businesses take an active role in shaping the narrative for not just a new normal, but a new better. They are increasingly demanding green products and solutions. And if you look at sustainability, they have to look and start with the energy sector. Sustainability has long ago become a business opportunity as renewables are competing with traditional energy systems. And nano energies are aware of that, trying to start with themselves. Our next guest will talk about energy storage and energy communities. His name is Honza Fosek. Hello, Honza.
Good morning to everyone, and hello, Nikita. Sorry, I was muted.
No worries. I hope you're all well, and please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the great moderation. Thank you Nordic Chamber for inviting me. I started sharing my screen. If you can confirm, Nikita, please kindly that you see it.
Yep.
Yep. Great. It was good to hear my predecessors, my previous fellow speakers, how business reacts on the lack of activities of Czech government. Unfortunately, in that point, really the approach of our government is not really good towards anything, I would say, modern, in respect to energy business, and that's what my next about 15 minutes will be about. My colleagues mentioned or introduced a little bit their institutions, hence I will do the same. Svaz moderní energetiky, or Union of Modern Energies, Czech, let's say, umbrella organization for associations active in the field of modern energy. Solar Association, Association for Energy Storage, e-mobility, water, renewable water, small water installations, energy communities, flexibility, etc. So that's what Svaz moderní energetiky is doing. I am the member of its board as a CEO of Association for Energy Storage, and also chairman of the board of Solar Association. Therefore, name of my presentation is Solar Energy Storage and Energy Communities, and I will start starting my stopwatch as well. Okay, speaking about solar energy generally, you can see on the, I think that the most speaking of everything, you can see the comparison with other countries. They are about to be compared to or comparable to Czech Republic, Poland, Hungary, Slovakia, and others, especially Hungary and Poland. Let's say the we4 countries, they are much ahead of Czech Republic. So you cannot say that only rich Germany or Baltic countries or the Nordic countries can be renewable. It's not true. Even a so coal-oriented country as Poland built 2.2 gigawatts of solar only last year, and it's because of auctions. We are successful as well. We added 104% compared to the previous year, but the problem is that we added 51 megawatts. So it's 0.05 gigawatts, which we connected. So we are hundreds of times behind other countries of our type. We have some renewables targets for 2030, and we have to meet them, of course. And the question is how we can do it, and if we can do it with the business as usual scenario or not, and what tools do we have. And that's also something what I would like to touch upon in my presentation. So the truth is that the current growth is far too slow, but we have a huge potential in so-called modernization fund. I will shortly introduce it in the next couple of minutes. The only problem is that this fund has to come, let's say, from Brussels or from this particular one from emissions allowances from the Czech industry. Again, it's not the proactive approach of the Czech government. It's just the business who has to pay for development of renewables. We also have a huge potential, untapped one, of utility scale photovoltaics. These are the ones, the larger photovoltaic powered parks, especially on the polluted areas like brownfields, etc. They are not usable for agriculture. We also have to tap the new trends like agrivoltaics. These are the panels the agriculture owners can use. Like a floating PV, there's a lot of projects on the water, floating solar panels. This is really good, and also for the water, or solar facades, which can be interesting for especially listeners of this webinar. So what are the barriers and challenges? Or even my previous fellow speakers and even I touched it shortly. The problem is that our government is definitely not the supportive one. There are ongoing governmental efforts to cut subsidies for existing PV installations, which will be like 10th or 12th another retroactive changes, which will check the potential renewable compensation, overcompensation, and the solar projects got the minimum IRR. The process is ongoing, and it's concerning the legal changes. Also, the Czech government, from our point of view, absolutely unreasonably decided to exclude PV photovoltaics from renewable energy auctions from this year, starting this year. So the wind turbines can take place, the wind producers, the wind investors, and all other renewable sources, but not solar. What is very strong in our environment is a large effort of traditional energy companies and co-lobby to delay the transposition of the EU legislation. What we unfortunately face is also strong stigmatization of PV owners by state leader to be solar barons or solar tycoons, if you want. So even though the situation is absolutely different, and we basically do not need much of the operational support, we still get the stigmatization to be barons, and also there is the lack of energy storage and the support in the law, and I will speak about it now. So that was the state of solar, which is not really the right one. Hopefully, the modernization fund and other subsidy funds, let's say, will help it a little bit if the government is not going to do it, or the elections hopefully will solve this problem. What's the situation about energy storage? I told you I also represent the Association for Energy Storage, AKUBAT. Since 2017, we have only 4 large-scale batteries in Czech Republic of 10 megawatts. And even 2 of them, which is 50% of them, are in the trial mode, and they basically cannot be, they even cannot deliver energy to the grid because there is still lack of legislation within the last 4 years, and that's what we try to change. So there is the novelization of the existing Energy Act. So it's there are 2 differences. You can see there below is New Energy Act. That's something New Energy Act. That's something else, and a novelization of the existing ones, which, by the way, mentions also flexibility, aggregation, and some other trends of the modern energy. Unfortunately, doesn't include any mention, even after 4 years of our effort, any mention of the energy storage, which is important for having the chance to obtain the license for energy storage. It's actually important period of time as for solar and energy storage, because the 2 most important legal amendments are currently being negotiated by the parliament. Energy storage and solar probably even this week or maximum in 2 weeks should be discussed. So it's really like a week D or D-Day for solar and energy storage. We initiated a legal amendment which would change the legislation. The leader or the carrier of this proposition is Mr. Marian Jurečka, chairman of KDU-ČSL, a political party. We got a support of most of the opposition. Unfortunately, I'm afraid it's not going to be enough. And the problem is that we face a lot of negative pressure from especially the Association of District Heating, and also a lot of, I would say, lies, fake news, and others speaking about energy storage as new solar, baronship, and repeating the mistakes from the past, which is absolutely untruth, and we try to put it right. What's very favorable for energy storage, and what my predecessor Franta Vašek mentioned, it's the update of code of Czech TSO, CHEPS, who changed on the 1st of January 2021 its code, which allows exactly standalone batteries together, and also aggregators of flexibility to take part in stabilization of the energy grid. But the problem is that still you need a license for the energy storage. So even though the Czech institutions allow it and propose it, like Czech TSO, Energy Regulatory Office, all three distribution companies, still the Ministry of Industry and Trade, hence the Czech government, opposes it very hard and try not to change it. What's at least optimistic for the future is the new Energy Act, where Modern Energy together with Akubat took a great part, and we still are taking part in the preparations. It includes all the aspects of modern energy and what the European Union wants from us. But the problem is that it's expected that this law will step into force within at least 2 or 3 years, depending also on the elections. Because I'm running a little bit late, or soon I will be out of time. Basically, here you can see what I already mentioned. That we face some like efforts to slow down the development of energy storage and solars, and here it is described. But again, the industry, its approach is very optimistic, and also we have some operational programs and funds which should help it, and we are very glad for that. We have operational programs. Here you can see their list. Most of you probably know it from other perspectives of your business. What's good for houses is new green for saving. You know it. These are the photovoltaics and batteries on the houses. You can see on the households roofs. But what's really the greatest one is the modernization fund. We will look into it on the next slide. But also Just Transition Fund, which should help the regions. They are hardly affected by the coal phase out to invest into complete restructuring of the whole business. That the whole region is not going to be anymore dependent from 70% of all services and on all employees places on coal. The problem is again that our government tends to use those funds like Recovery and Resilience Facility and Just Transition Fund as a remediation of a state budget, and that's something what of course Brussels doesn't like. Basically, my last important slide taps the modernization fund, as I indicated. It's a absolutely huge new program where 39% out of the funds are allocated to renewables, around 2.3 billion euro until 2030. It's great. The pre-registration calls were already done in February this year. We are part of the preparation committee of that. Of course, there were some step backs, but also some positive ways, and most of the optimistic points are, I would say, in the modernization it's most of the things are positive, I would say. And it should support development of renewables together with energy storage, decarbonization of the Czech energy and Czech industry. And we expect it's going to be really a large help for the development of renewables if the state doesn't help it. The only problem is that the request just in the pre-registration calls was collected in the height of 20 billion euros, while the whole budget is like 6 or 7 billion euros. So really, it's large, but it's great to see the interest. And my last slide is just about energy communities. That's something what I would like to share with you. We as a Modern Energy Union are undergoing a research project defining the potential of energy communities for active energy consumers. You might know it as prosumers. These are the the household owners. They have mostly their photovoltaics on the roof, their batteries in the garage, and they can basically take an active part in stabilizing the Czech energy grid. And that's, for example, something what Nano Energies and ČEZ and others are doing. The first output should be presented in summer 2021, which means in very few months, and another part is supposed to take place in 2022. Nikita, I hope I was on time, more or less, but you didn't stop me. So that's enough for me. I'm looking forward to your questions.
Just in time. My quick follow-up questions to this debate about energy storage. What's going to happen now? So there is no law yet that will allow companies to store the energy in their batteries. Is there going to be any law, or is it going to still be a big political debate about it?
Basically, we have a chance within, during the second readings in the parliament. That's happening now during the discussions about the novelization of the Energy Act, right? And the question is, if our amendment, which should include energy storage into the law, will be approved by the parliament, by the lower chamber or not. And we are going to know it either even until the end of this week or within 2 weeks, or let's say a couple of weeks, but we will already know it. And then there is no other chance until the new Energy Act, which I mentioned, which includes energy storage and flexibility and other new forms of modern energy in full extent. But the problem is that it's going to take place in 2 or 3 years. So basically the discussion is hard now and had been hard within since the beginning of the year, let's say since January of this year, last 3 months, let's say. It's very hard, and we heard a lot of lies, especially from the Communist Party on the Industry and Economic Committee in the lower Chamber of Commerce. We have to face it. We have to fight against it, but the problem is, as you know, that the fake news is hard to defend against and to spread them. So we are unfortunately on the lower end of that, and we hear that batteries, even though the amendment doesn't include any operational support or any kind of support, it's just the license for energy storage, and we can hear a lot of things like new barons and tunneling the state budget through batteries like solar barons, etc. So it's very hard. It's very psychologically hard, I would say, but definitely it's going to be clear in 2 or 3 weeks.
And if we're talking here at this webinar about leading by example, if you look to Germany, do you have an example of such development, for example, in Germany? What's going on in there? Are they storing energy in their batteries already?
That was a great question. Germany, but also, for example, UK. Germany is, I would say, number one, or it used to be. Now it's number one in UK. In Germany, just for information of our listeners, just in batteries. But of course, we are discovering other forms like power to gas, creating the green hydrogen, etc. But just in batteries for stabilizing the grid in Germany is about 1.5 gigawatts, which means 1,500 megawatts. Just for stabilization of the grid and of standalone batteries, and the same pace for UK. The numbers are changing every month, but we are talking about really like a higher hundreds of megawatts or lower thousands of megawatts of energy storage. While we have working 2 of them, and they can be only connected with the spinning reserve, which means the traditional sources. That's the problem.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Anton.
You're more than welcome. Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Likewise, thank you.
A quick summary. As we heard, the energy market with renewables continues to grow. Unfortunately, it continues to grow too slowly. Companies don't have enough playing field, and the Czech government creates somehow or can create unpredictable environments, especially for the mid and long-term perspective. Coal lobby does not help. There is, however, huge potential with energy storage. Neighboring countries are trying to maximize this potential. And according to Jan Fosek, we should do it as well. The European Modernization Fund could be an opportunity for players that want to innovate. This was our first panel on how healthy living maybe can be looked at from the global perspective. Our second panel will touch upon healthy indoor environment and living. And let's talk about home. Last year of COVID has proven to us that we need to take care of our immediate environment, not only about our world environment. Our panelists will discuss the topics connected to quality of our home, of our air, and by the end of today's webinar, also about our mind and other senses. I'm glad to welcome here our first guest of the second panel, Helena Bjerregaard, Swedish national architect, to talk about design and sustainable living environments for everyone. Hello, Helena.
Hello.
Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So nice to be here, and thank you for inviting me. I'm going to try to share my PowerPoint. See if you all see it. See the... I see it at least. Do you see it?
Yes.
Yes, good. Yeah, I'm going to give you an overall perspective on architecture and the connection to sustainability. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the national policy for architecture in Sweden and how it connects to architecture and give you a lot of examples. I'm working at the Swedish National Agency for Housing, Building and Planning as the Swedish national architect. And our job is to work with the government's national policy for architecture, design, art and culture heritage. And it's called Designed Living Environment. And right now I'm also working in the EU together with countries from all over the EU. And we're actually seeing the same thing right now, that everybody talks about the connection between architecture, built environment, and sustainability. And it's both the indoor environment, of course, but also the big city planning scale. So I'm going to, see this overall perspective. The Swedish goal on architecture and design is that architecture and design will help us to create a sustainable society, sustainable, equitable, and less segregated society with carefully designed living environments in which everyone is placed to influence the development of their shared environment. So this policy is really about what architecture can do, not what architecture is, that it is a house, a building, a room, a landscape. It's what architecture can do to contribute to a sustainable society in many, many ways. And I'm just going to move like that. And there are some core values in this that we need to, have in our mind when we work with this. It's about having a holistic view. This is one of the core values, that we need to see the long-term social, environmental, and economic sustainability at the same time. We need to look at all the built environments according to utility, sustainability, and beauty. Beauty is important for us as people, as human beings, to feel comfortable, to feel safe, to feel welcomed to a place. And that's actually very, very important to us, to our health, to our stress levels, and so on. I hope someone will, talk about this in indoor environments. All scales from city planning to details is important. It's important to think of this when you plan, when you build, and also when you manage, because the environments that we build today, that we develop today, they will stand there for a long time. It's about the built environment and the process. And it's about people, seeing that the indoor environment, the city scale, the houses that we build, the landscape, they are there for people because we're going to live in those environments. It's designed living environments for people. And how can we feel comfortable? How can this contribute to lower stress levels in our bodies, to health, and so on? It's about time. It's about seeing the long-term perspective, to see that the places that we build today, they are already there. And we build them, we develop them, and they will stand there for generations ahead, and we have a responsibility. It's about the place, to see that the place is there before. We need to see what kind of qualities do we have in this place, how can we develop them, and how can we add to them, because the place is also part of the human history, the social perspective. And using the qualities at a place is also about taking care of the environmental and economic sustainability. It's about all scales, as I said before. It's about the big city scale, the big regional scale, the big cities. And it's also about the rural areas. Here's a picture from National Preserve in Sweden. And actually we designed places, visitor centers in all the national preserves in Sweden. And that actually brings more people out to nature, which is good. It's about the neighborhood scale, feeling comfortable, feeling welcome to your neighborhood. It's about the big parks, the green areas, and feeling welcome and feeling comfortable. It's about the places in the middle of the town, as here a square close to Stockholm, where the kids really are invited to play at the same time as it is a very nice square where people in all ages are, and it connects the city in different ways. It's about the building scales and how you add new buildings to a landscape, a city where there are already existing buildings, and how you manage all this for the future. It's about the inside and the outside, and how it connects in different ways. And this is the Sketches Museum in Lund in southern Sweden. And it's about the inside, and the architecture is also about letting the outside in. Here's an example from the National Museum in Sweden that was renovated 2 years ago, and actually with the aim to double up their people coming to visit this National Museum, but actually they tripled the amount of people when they worked with the architecture, when they worked with the light, when they worked with people feeling comfortable and enjoying the building in itself. And it's not just about architecture, it's about art. Art can be part of the built environment, as this monument for the tsunami in Stockholm that works both in the summertime and in the wintertime. And art can also be a part of the process, as you said, saw in the goal to involve people. That is very important for the social sustainability. Here in Umeå in northern Sweden, where artists really try out where people want to sit on this square. And art can also be a piece of a building or part of a building that can stand there for a long time, for generation, that can be part of our future culture heritage. So actually it's about architecture, the one that is already there, a part of our culture heritage. And it's about the new architecture that we're going to build, develop, and that is going to last for a long time in the future, and connecting those living environments to sustainability. And how can we do that? How can we prove that the architecture and design really matters for sustainability? Well, we can just do a quick check. We can look at the 17 SDGs, or maybe just a few of them. We can look at health and well-being, for example. This is a hospital in Gothenburg where environmental psychologists work together with the architects and the patients and the people working in this hospital. And they created a new type of hospital where you connect the inside with the outside, green areas, you let the light in and so on. And actually they can measure that the patients can go home earlier from this hospital than they could before in the old building that was much more closed. And also the amount of medicine use is low right now. So architecture can really actually contribute to health. We know this. And this is just one example. Then we have education, quality of education. Can architecture contribute to goal number 4? Yes, of course. Scientists also show that if the pupils have a playground that is green, where you can move around, it's very, very good for the education. The pupils will learn better. And also the interior design, how you work with that, that's also very good for the learning mechanisms in the brain. Scientists show this too. Equality, gender equality, and reduce inequalities, goals 5 and 10. Yes, of course. This is a new city park in Skellefteå in northern Sweden, a small town. It was a really boring square there before that people didn't feel safe going to. Now it's a green park that is very beautiful, and people in all ages are really there and feel safe and feel welcome. And a lot of people visit this place now, and they all feel welcome. Industry, innovation, infrastructure. Well, the earlier speaker talked about batteries, and also in Skellefteå we have the new factory growing up, Northvolt, that is going to it's a big industry working with batteries for electrifying. And at the same time, a lot of people want to move here, actually. And how can you develop a town that has been kind of sleeping for some years? And now they're developing a culture center in wood to also see if the wood industry can grow bigger, and can we build more in wood, even those high tall buildings, not just the small cottages. And how can we develop architecture in wood in Sweden, because that's a material that we have so much of. Affordable and clean energy, climate action. We have so many examples of this, and this is just one example. It's from Malmö. It's part of the town that is very, very, very in the middle of the city center with old industrial buildings, and we need to rebuild them, let the people into the building, let companies into the building, make them homes and so on. So we need to rebuild those buildings. And when they are working with those buildings and those environments, they collect all the old materials, they map it, they store it. And when architects are going to develop new buildings and renovate the old buildings, they use the old material in circular economy, to use the already built, that is resources that are already used in some way. So this is very good for environmental sustainability, clean energy, and so on. And we have so many more examples. Life on land, biodiversity. How do you work with this on a city planning level, or in the interior design, or in the street, as in this picture? We also have greenery in interior design in several hospitals and care facilities in Sweden, and it works very well. Peace and justice, strong institutions. Start with the kids, start with the children. Here in Malmö, they made playgrounds all over the town. And kids are really telling their parents that I want to go to another part of the town that I never visited before. Maybe the parents hasn't been there either. And now they can see that they can work with segregation and integration in this way by architecture, by landscape architecture. So what is this about? It's about the transformation of our whole society to be a more sustainable society. And as Ursula von der Leyen says in her New European Bauhaus initiative, it's not just an environmental, technical transformation, it's a culture transformation. Because we need to see that we work with the places where people live their lives and design places where we can live for generations. And maybe the most important thing to think of is to develop places that people can be proud of for a long, long time, because then we will take care of them. They will last for long, and that is sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you, Helena. Thank you very much. My first question, leads to our, so to say, architecture and COVID, or the way we perceive architecture, the way we perceive our personal space and environment. Has it changed, or so to say, has COVID changed the way we look at architecture and public space? And can architecture react to such changes, to such societal changes so fast?
Absolutely. I'm the chair of something that is called Sustainable Cities in Sweden, and we have just made this COVID report actually. And we interviewed a lot of researchers and people working in this area, and they all say that they think that the need of green spaces will last, that we've been meeting outside, and everybody thinks that probably we will continue to do this, not as much as we do right now, but more and more people are questioning the ultra dense city, the very, very, very dense city, because we need to have outdoor space. We can see that that's important for kids, for elderly people, and so on. And we can also see that in Paris, they're working with a 15-minute city, and it's about thinking of a closed city where you can have everything that you need in 15 minutes walking distance. It can be a store, your school, and also park, naturally. So I think a lot of the things that we see happening right now this COVID year will last. Maybe they will bounce back a little bit, but we are learning about what we need as human beings in this very, very specific time, I think. And that's also about the interior, of course, and how we work. It's about how we build our homes, if we can do as I do right now, if we can work at home or not, and how the space we have at home, is it suitable to do several things, not just live, maybe also to work and so on. So it's a lot of learnings that we need to, take with us in the future work with this.
I have so many questions that are connected to this topic, but you talk about the fact that it's about big cities, about big communities, it's about scaling. Is this globalization movement, or is COVID putting maybe different pressures on this globalization movement? You said that 15-minute Paris. Will this scaling and community, so interconnectedness, develop in the context of COVID and the fact that we cannot meet? Maybe it will reverse this diversity, this idea that we all live as one community globally or in the cities.
Yeah, the things that people talk about right now, that we see the two movements at the same time. We see the globalization. I think it will continue, of course. But at the same time, we see another movement, and they kind of working in different directions, that people want to choose their own way of living, that more people question to live in a dense city, more people want to live in a smaller city or in the countryside. And when we look at figures for how much does a home cost in Sweden, we can see that small houses, the last month, the prices are really rising on small houses, and that's kind of a new movement that we haven't seen before. And people still want to have apartments, small apartments, mid-sized apartments, but we also see that more people ask for houses in small towns, houses on the countryside, and so on. So I think we have the two movements going in different directions at the same time: the globalization and the movement that people want to choose and want to have more choices, actually.
Well, I believe that's good. Thank you, Helena. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me come here and talk. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Short summary. Architecture is intrinsically connected to the well-being of our society in many various ways. It is important to choose a holistic, complex approach. We cannot look at only one of the sustainability goals, and the detail in this is of crucial importance. And if we are talking about big cities, big scales, and big projects, we cannot forget about all of the communities from various neighborhoods and interconnectedness between them. The question whether we live inside or outside is not important anymore. We live everywhere. Art should be part of the environment, as well as we need to keep in mind that in order to transform, in order to become a resilient society, we need to transform ourselves. Our next guest, Eva Neudertová from Skanska Residential Development, will talk about how to get from home to neighborhoods or to reach the neighborhoods and the planet. Welcome, Eva. Hello. I cannot hear you. I cannot hear you. I hope, I'm not sure, I still cannot hear you, so I hope that someone from the technicians could give us a help, maybe. No luck. But you can hear me, right? Okay. Well, I'm thinking if we cannot connect shortly. I suggest we could maybe switch the panelists, and maybe Eva has the time to establish the connection. If I could ask the technicians to connect Klara Bukowska from Velux. Klara, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Perfect. I'm sorry. If you wouldn't mind to start now.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
I will try to share.
Perfect. Thank you
to share my topic.
Yeah, and we'll talk about healthy indoor environment. So please, Klara, you can hear and see everything nice.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. Then I'd like to introduce myself. I'm an architect. I work for Velux company, and I'm responsible, or I have in focus architecture issues for like a CEE region, but in the past really so much focusing Czech Republic and Slovakia. And as we already heard, so this holistic approach to an architecture, I'm very happy that I have this opportunity to take a little bit a detail which is like in my heart, and it's indoor environment in residential buildings and in our like living environment. Why I'm showing this picture, we have to feel at our homes like being outside during the warm spring day. That it means that we have to design buildings to feel like this. And we need all those things because they are important for our health, mental health, physical health, and all the other things. Before Corona, the World Health Organization told us this, that we spent 90% of our time indoors. I'm quite sure that during the time of Corona, this figure is even bigger. And if we will have a look to only like 1 point of quality of indoor environment, which is the daylight, because the other topics will be covered by the other panelists during the day, I would like just here say that this is not only the visual needs, but also this non-visual needs, which are important if we are talking about the daylight needs. Daylight really makes our daylight clock works. Let us sleep, wake us in the right time. But there are also so many huge studies which refer to the quality of learning, which is related to the quality of daylight and productivity. We are talking about like 15% productivity difference between good or bad daylight conditions. We know that speed of learning can be like rise up by less than 20%. Then really we need to focus on to get as much light inside than is possible. We have also this like technical visual needs, and if we would like to design something, we need some figures, and we know how much luxes we need for some activities. And by that, we have now the new tool, as I do not like so much any type of the restrictions. The legislation somehow has to lead us how to design spaces on the right way. And I really like the description of new legislation which comes to daylight, and it's valid for whole European countries. And it tells us that we need to avoid using artificial light during the day. And after that, define some figures which we need to fulfill. But the purpose is clear and it's sustainable. And we also can like define the minimum, medium, and high level of the quality, which is also very important, because if we are talking about spendings in architecture, spendings for living, we also know that we not everybody has the same budget for that. I will just quickly show an example what this new standard says. We need good daylight quality, and the typical room which was built in past years as the typical bedroom on the top floor with balcony window on the top now doesn't fulfill the daylight conditions. And you need to let the daylight goes to the room at least from two sides. Then we need to be careful in designing our spaces and internal spaces now. And we know from this period when we spent so many time on the home office, how the daylight conditions are really important for our productivity and stay awake and really wants to work. And if we have a look to the buildings as it is, and we do not face so much the new build because it's regulated and it's like our new stuff. But we have to look at our existing buildings. And if we ask people, every 1 of 6 Europeans, but 1 of 6 Czech, 1 of 6 Slovaks says that they are not like successful or they are not happy about their living. They have lack of daylight in 20%. They have lack of leaking roof. They have huge humidity. It's more than 20% in their homes. But what was a really scary figure for me, 23% of Czechs is not allowed to heat the room to comfort temperature because they do not have money for that. And this is really in those times like huge figure. But in the Europe, it's 20% everywhere. It's not that Czechs or Slovaks are not that rich as the other Europeans. And on the other hand, Europe spends like this 82 billion euros for to serve all the diseases, the asthma and all the things which comes from this this purpose. And if I will show this figure, this picture, this is the small village next to Bratislava, nothing on the border, but existing buildings, how it looked like last autumn. And we have here like huge opportunity to change this thing. If we will teach people which are the owners of the houses how to make healthy renovation. It can bring them more space, more daylight. They will spend less energy. They will like make good heat protection for the summer. They have to think about some ventilation system, use the light shaft for getting better like air distribution. And also we have to learn them how to work in phases. And if like each owner of this old house will understand how to make principally the healthy renovation, it can bring like huge changes. For these typical houses, it can be, and we made a RenoActive project, and we like renovate one of those typical houses, and we were able to reduce the total energy need by the 80%. We bring there more than 35 more space for that living. And also, this is not only the figures, but the change of the type of the living, that we can bring like the living of the 21st century to these old houses and make the healthy indoor climate there with a good daylight distribution, perfect ventilation, using like the modern technologies, but keep this warm and the touch of the old buildings. We can really like make any huge change. Because we have old building stock, our renovation rate is not on the level which is which we are called for by the European Union for this like 1.2 renovation rate. We are so far from this, and if we will like inspire all the owners of these old houses to renovate houses by the right way, to have healthy indoor climate, we can also easily achieve our climate goals. And it was like briefly from my side. I don't know if you have any questions regarding that. I refer you to have a look to webpage of the RenoActive project and watch some videos which are there and see our Hučko family, which refers how it's look like when they are living in this such a renovated house. And please feel free to share this idea and think about how to also share this idea to all these neighbors, because if we are speaking about sustainability, it's not only about us to doing something, but also inspire the others to look at it that way.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Nice presentation, nice timing. A few questions that come up in the context of what you're saying. I really like the story. Can you please expand on your project in Slovakia? Is it that you chose a family, an ordinary family, that you decided to actually create a use case, how effective you can be? Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. As you said, we saw like huge potential at Slovakia, where those typical squared houses are really present a lot in the country. And we wanted to show like the showcase how to make these principles in like normal budget with the normal family, with a normal building company, with the normal materials which are in shops, not use nothing which is not available on places. and we wanted to show that it's possible to do it. People will understand it, and now we also share the project. All the people can download the project, and we also on board at Slovakia the civil engineers and architects who can help the people to copy these principles to the other houses. Then we hope that by this inspiration, we found that the huge difference between start renovate and not start and renovate is not enough of information, that people do not know what to do, how to do. There are so many informations on internet, but nothing connected to their own situation.
And do you plan to create this case in the Czech Republic as well? Why Slovakia?
We do not, at the Czech Republic, we would like to share the knowledge, and we are working on some more typical situation, how to explain the principles. But here we do not have such a one house which is copied too many times. Then we would like to focus on row houses, which is a little bit more typical for villages when you see this old structure, how to renovate this type of houses. But the principles of renovation is the same, but we need to find a way how to really connect in the mind of the end user that this can be also my house. But we are working on that, and if there are any partners who would like to join us in this activation process, I will love to discuss.
Well, they might hear you right now. There is a question from the audience. Do you have any calculation or any business use cases which show that also for the companies, it's also good for the companies, not only for ordinary homes, family, people, but also maybe SMEs?
We really focused on the family houses, and the case is based on the situation that in our region, 85 or 90% of the family houses is occupied by people who owns this situation. That I can see that here we can have this 15% of developers or renovator developers. It will be a huge potential for them, because by repeating the process, they can really decrease the price for the renovation, because they will copy all this situation. But we didn't focus on that. We had some discussions. Again, if somebody would like to start this type of activity, let's contact us. We can discuss that, work on it.
Great. One more question. You, as a company, Velux also focus on sustainability within the company and carbon neutrality. How is it going?
We are very ambitious, I have to say. Last year, we set a new strategy for the new period. And this strategy ends up in 2041, when we will be 100-year-old company. And for that time, we would like to achieve a full carbon neutrality. That means that we will decrease all the carbon we need for production, distribution, and all the things, and carbon footprint for the product. But also we will pay back all the CO2 we already used by all these projects which are focusing the forests all around Europe, and all the support all the other activities for that purpose. That I have to say, we are in a building industry, the first company who took such a huge decision to be lifetime carbon neutral.
Well, I'm glad you do that. It's a great responsibility. Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you too.
And Eva, hello, can you hear us?
Hello, I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect. Everything fine. Great. So before you start, I'm sorry, I will give a quick summary on what we just said before we move. We need the daylight and air in order to live healthy, and we simply spend so much time indoors like now. And focus on the right design of indoor spaces could be very important. But we don't build so much anymore. That is why we need to look and adjust to our current homes and focus on renovation. And there lies a great opportunity, business opportunity as well as the environmental one. And Velux can offer solutions that reduce the total energy consumptions by large sums by doing smaller changes. However, the renovation rate is quite small in this country, and this needs to be changed. That's all from Velux. Eva, thank you. I just wanted to check the connection. Please, Skanska residential development and the topic how to get from home to the planet, please.
Okay, so I will share the screen with you. So can you hear can you see my screen, please?
Yes, everything is perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. So sorry for those troubles, but it wouldn't be fun to have at least one technical issue. So now I can focus to the presentation. At first, I'm happy that I could be here with you and share with you what we try to do within Skanska Reality as a residential developer, as an investor, as we belong to the biggest, let's say, 5 residential developers in Czech Republic. So I would like to share with you 2 general thoughts connected with health and with sustainability. So maybe to give you a little bit different perspectives, and I'm happy that 2 ladies shared their presentation before me, because I will continue in this let's say holistic approach. And second thought will be how is health, the personal health, and also let's say health of society connected with sustainability, and that it has higher connection than we would maybe thought. I deal with green issue, with sustainability, with environment with my company. And as Clara also informed you, this is very important and crucial number. This is, let's say, current standard, how the things are. So it means we will spend around 90% at homes and in our offices. And it's why it's important to deal with issues like quality of internal space, like the lights, acoustic with high quality, to deal with hazardous materials and everything that surrounds us within the flat or office. But I would like to focus to other topics to show you that this is the standard, but we should or could change it. And I would like to show you some practical solution that we are doing and would like to do even more as a developer, and to show you how we see our responsibility to build not only sustainable homes and buildings, but also healthy homes and surrounding, and to take you from the journey, let's say from internal part of building out, and from persons, from us as individuals, through the communities to planet and back, and show you what are the relations. And I just would like. I hope that you don't see the panel. I will change it. Sorry for confusing. I was not sure if you see on my screen. Now I will continue. So what is crucial and important? Why is the external area of buildings, of flats, so important? You can see on this picture something that's influenced us as individuals. So you can see me in the middle. You can see factors, so-called determinants, health determinants, and we will look how important those factors are. So I would start with the gender, with the genetic factors that we rather can't influence. And second thing that we could influence partially, but it's a lot connected with the country where we live, or with the city where we live, and of it general level. So it's healthcare and genetic factors, and you can see that it has influence from 10 to 15% to our health. what's happening with environment? So the place that surround us. So it's the flat, it's the building, it's our office where we live and where we spend the time, and also the external environment. So the quality, like the pollution, quality of water, quality of the air. So it's up to 20%, and what is I would say very positive and very positive for us because we can influence it. It's that lifestyle is influencing our health around 50%. So it's good for us that based on our eating habits, based on general habits, how we are understanding our personal health. So everything. I mean, the biggest part of our health is in our own hands. And I will come back to this topic, but this was just to explain what is important when we speak about health. So not only the light, not only the air, not only hazardous substances that surround us, but also our personal attitude that could be, I would say, quite easily changed. And this is the idea about connection between personal health, between our health and sustainability. So when we look to individual persons, so it means our clients, people that live in the buildings that we produce in our flats. So we try to help them to take care about their health. So again, to take care about internal and external, but I would like to share with you how important are other aspects like social health. So it means not only our family, but wider community that could surround us. It could be friends, it could be just neighbors that we know or we don't know personally, but we can meet them. And then when we go further from our flats, from our buildings, so then to allow us to be healthy and thrive as a human. So like Helena were mentioning, we need much more things, and environments belongs to them. And it's essential to have clean water, clean air. So all of these activities are happening within the nature, and we are gaining sources from the nation, from the planet. So now 1-2 slides for each issue, like we as individuals, then our communities, and also look to the planets, what we try to do. So when we speak about health, what does it mean in general? So based on the definition of WHO, it's the state of some complete balance of physical, mental, and social well-being, and it's so-called psychosocial model. But what is the reality, especially of the Western approach? It's a so-called biomedical approach that is understanding health like the opposite of the illness, and it's something that is maybe automatic for us. And the issues, the problems, so it means illness could be just fixed by taking medicine or staying in a hospital and so on. But what we try to do within Skanska reality, what we try to implement into our homes, buildings, and districts that we build, it's a so-called holistic approach. So it means this general concept, but let's say enriched of like personal, emotional, or spiritual attitude. So also the attractiveness and beauty is part of this. So to make the not only internal part of the building, but also the public or external spaces attractive. So what we could do or what we do as investors, as developers. So you can see on this picture 2 areas that we try to in positive way influence. So it's both the environment that influence up to 20%. So it means to use healthy materials, to use certification, to make the space attractive, to use a lot of greenery. But what we also try to do to change this paradigm, as I mentioned at the beginning, like spending 90% of our life inside without fresh air, without greenery, without maybe meeting our neighbors. So we try to support communities, greenery, a lot of diverse space around the buildings, and support the social connection between inhabitant and its neighborhood. And it's why we want to continue in project identity. So when we come into new era, we at first we try to understand what's happening there, and then continue with the local identity. And of course, topics like climate changes, COVID, and transportation is something that should be solved in a good way. So mentioning COVID, what we try to do already for, let's say, some years, is try to prepare home office era within home. So to have space for home officing, but to be honest, our flats are not ready for COVID when 3, 4, 5 people should be sitting at home and working or learning. So we are not ready for this, to be honest. But referring to personal health, I would like to show you comparison how our clients or potential clients, because we ask the public how they understand or how important is health and sustainability for them. And you can see that health or healthy environment belongs to the priorities. But the sustainability is not so much important. It's rather important for quite a big part of the people, but very important only for few. And what we think it's the problem that it's tough to understand to our clients, to people, what does it sustainability really mean? Because it's really touching all of the issues that we were mentioning today, and a lot of more. And moving on the promised journey from us to our neighborhood. So I will just show you a few pictures from our project to demonstrate how it could look. So this is the picture of play art for kids within the park that we built in one district in Prague 5. This is a picture from event that we organized quite after handovering of the flats to customers to plant the boxes for community gardening that we prepare for them. So to prepare the opportunity for them and allow them to decide if they will continue or not. Together with gardening, we are preparing spaces for composting, so to create the organic matter, and this is something that also helps in a small to do sequestration of the CO2 emissions as well, for example. This is a picture of the from the moment when we were preparing or finishing the rooftop terrace on the project in Prague 8. So again, offer diverse place, not within the building, but you can see on the building. So not only around, but also on the building for the exercises, reading, meeting, eating, whatever you want. And health of the planet. So it's the core of the sustainability, it's the environment itself, and why we should care. I mean, for us, for our business, is sustainability crucial, because when we want to be successful and we want to build a building, we need sources, we need materials. So you can see just in pictures, just in numbers, what's going on within construction sector, why we have to care, why we have to build a sustainable solution and try to make it attractive for people to pick this type of solution. Because we are consuming the biggest portion of the energy, we are consuming biggest portion of raw materials. And when I were preparing, I was surprised that sand, when we compared the extraction of the sand that we need, for example, for concrete. So we know that a lot of oil is extracting from the ground, but I was surprised that sand is 9 times bigger amount that oil extraction. So we can't imagine which amounts of sand, iron, stone, copper we need. And CO2 emission, it's hand in hand with energy and raw material proceeding. So, and last few slides, I'm sorry, I'm checking time to make sure that I will keep the very good trend of my previous speakers. So this is to show which topics we try to solve, just few of them, just basic topics. So it's not only healthy environment, but we care about water, drinking water, but water in general, the rainwater. Energy is like must have. to be effective, not only according to sources like nature sources, but also money, the pocket of our clients. And as I mentioned, materials. So we try to reinvent within Skanska or create new materials that like Rebeton. So it's the concrete that is using up to 100% of recycled sand and stone. And we deal with biodiversity, we deal with waste, with eco-transportation. And last box is showing BREEAM. It's the international certification that is helping us at first to improve, but also to show to our clients how we succeed, how we manage, how we are managing on our journey to improve in a lot of areas that are connected with sustainability and good quality of the project. And of course, carbon neutrality, this goal is already here with us. It's really tough because more than 99% of our carbon emission belongs to scope 3. So it means indirect, it's the supply chain, how it was already mentioned. So a lot of work is in front of us, but we are not afraid. We started this journey, and together within the cooperation with other companies and our clients, I'm sure we will manage it. So this is only to show in solution what we are doing when mentioning this planet connected issues. So we are flushing toilet with the gray water, so it's the not so dirty water from the households. We are using rainwater in public spaces, and we are trying to create the spaces that are really viable, attractive, and really motivating people to come from internal to outside. So we would like to change this ratio of 90% spending between four walls. And allow me to finish with this quote of Winston Churchill that I love. And this quote is working for everything, even for building and health. So we shape our buildings. Thereafter, they shape us. And not us as a human in general, but they also could help us to shape our health or maybe destroy it a little bit. So we know what is our responsibility. We try to bring solution, but the journey is quite long. So thank you for your interest, and I'm ready to answer some questions if they are.
Thank you very much. Eva, thank you for outlining your concept within Skanska. You as a green business manager, as a journalist, I keep asking sometimes what are the last big thing that you notice in terms of trends within residential living that connect all these values that we talked about. Can you put it in practice? So maybe what is the last technology innovation that people are using, not only in the Czech Republic, but maybe over the world, that can be maybe used in the future here and can be scaled?
Thank you for the question. This is a little bit tricky for me because the issues that I'm dealing with, it's so much of them. And if I would pick only energy, for example, that we discussed within the first panel, I could pick a lot of important solutions.
The one that you've been dealing with recently, the one that comes up in mind. I know that there is many topics to discuss, but if you would pick one that concerns you.
I think what is very important and very easy is to change us to green energy in general. So I would say it's low-hanging fruits. So we don't need to do some big innovation. So just start to buy green energy. So this is something that we had done recently, and we will continue. But the tricky part is that the direct energy, green energy, is only small portion within our emissions. So we need to cooperate with our partners and to motivate them to work with green. So I would say what is very important, and maybe it's not so attractive for clients now, but it will, it's really to understand to CO2 emission in general, to understand where lies the issue within your company or within your life as a person, as a human living in some building, and to understand what you could change personally. And it's why I try to show that when we were speaking with health, we can change a lot. And it's the same with, for example, energy consumption decrease or CO2 emission decrease. But we need to understand how we should be helped as a human, as a person. So it's on companies as ours and the others who were presented here and the others that are not with us, like to use their solutions. So it's complexity, but the solution could be surprisingly quite simple and quite easy.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Eva.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you for having me here.
A quick summary from our home to the whole planet. That's not as impossible as it might seem, geographically maybe, but not mentally. If we focus on our living values, physical, psychological health, spiritual well-being, taking care of our surroundings and supporting our communities, we all share this, and Skanska is standing up to these values. Its recent projects reflects a few of them, but there is more. Because there is no contemporary and healthy business without a healthy environment and people inhabit it. Companies like Skanska should be aware of this, and I see that they are. So thank you very much for this insight. And our next guest will be talking about indoor air quality solutions. His name is Rick Aller from 720 Degrees, Finland. Hello, Rick.
Hi.
So the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'll start sharing my screen here. And hopefully I'm successful. Can you see the presentation now?
Can see the presentation and hear you well.
Perfect. Thank you. So yeah, I'm Rick from 720 Degrees from Finland. And I'll answer a previous question, actually, what's the most important aspect that we look for in the future that we can affect? It's our indoor climate, because it's all encompassing throughout the construction sector and energy, health, well-being, comfort. There's a lot to be done here, and the good part is we have the tools to do it. We are focusing on artificial intelligence, and that's what I'll be discussing today. So we're founded in 2012, so we're quite a young company. If you compare us to companies such as Skanska or other large construction companies, and we do happen to be a leader in artificial intelligence applied to indoor climate data. We prove that by speaking at different conventions in the area, and by submitting patents on our categorization on stream analytics and a few others upcoming. So we've been doing this since 2012, and we have an office in Helsinki and one in New York, and we have hundreds of buildings that we monitor for very, very detailed aspects of the environment across the world. And today I'll talk about sustainability a little bit. How to improve on sustainability in buildings by focusing now mainly on air quality, on indoor climate, on indoor environmental quality, whichever factor we want to cover the topic with. And this further improved through applying artificial intelligence. Now, there are a few goals which we also try to focus on in our endeavors, which are set out by the United Nations. So some of these are the goals for sustainability, and there's a lot that can be done in the construction industry, but there can also be a lot done in data and air quality to achieve these. Health and environment is very much interlinked. Our work and our productivity is synonymous. The sustainability and energy consumption coupled with climate action is a very important factor that we need to take into consideration. Now, what we do as a company, can be simplified through this image, but I can try to make it a little bit more complex for the people who might be bored by this. So we collect data. We collect this through different technologies, IoT devices, using different protocols. There's LoRa protocol, Sigfox, NB-IoT, NOcean. There's a lot of different protocols which we use a network that's harmonious to bring in as many data sources as possible. And to make this more complicated, we also have a bidirectional API to collect and to give commands to BMS systems. Now, artificial intelligence, of course, is a simple topic, and we analyze the data and produce actionable insights, but we do this through applying from anything from a degree of thresholds to neural nets to predict particulate matter levels outdoor in order to really give a good recommendation. So this recommendation is generated in form of notifications or in reporting, in running suggestions to the automation systems, service providers, or other relevant stakeholders like asset managers, maintenance personnel, property managers. This is something where you can constantly improve on the building, but not in a way where people think, okay, well, we don't want to increase our actions and our spending, and that's not what that means. What it means is we can give more targeted notifications and reporting and suggestions in order to improve on the environment, so you will actually do less. And that is an important factor here, because when we talk about money, we talk about resources, we're also talking about the environment. We're also talking about productivity. And when it comes to productivity, occupants in the buildings, talking about office buildings, talking about schools, there's metrics such as performance, such as productivity, and all of these are important to some extent. So we want people in buildings to be productive or comfortable or healthy, but there's always a goal that can be achieved and improved by focusing on the indoor climate. And in the end, the building will consume fewer resources and satisfaction increases. When satisfaction increases, that's when you couple it with, for instance, productivity. Now, the sustainability impact that I want to talk about is something that has been impacted. I don't know if people have noticed the past more than a year or so. There's been kind of a huge radical shift in the world that no one really saw coming, unless of course you were an epidemiologist who were sounding the alarm for a long time and no one listened to you. Now, this is something where everyone's affected, and it's been a horrible time, but it's something where it has also opened up the door to research on how airborne contagions are affected by, for instance, poor air quality. There's numerous studies linking high PM 2.5 levels to exacerbated symptoms by COVID-19. We're really seeing how the air quality itself can impact us. What is dilution of air doing to us? And even without a pandemic such as this one, there has long been focus in the industry around relative humidity indoors, better filtration, better dilution of air, better reuse of humidity, whatever they might be. It's been more in focus now. Climate change also increasingly urgent for everyone to act on. And the fact is, I think many speakers will say the real estate industry, it is the largest asset class in the world. That also makes it a high consumer. Heating in buildings is such a high consumer, and of course construction otherwise. We have a responsibility to improve on how we use these resources, and applying anything less than exceptional technology and analytics on this is I'd say irresponsible. Now, social responsibility might be something that people look at and, okay, it's not our responsibility to care for the work environment of people in buildings if we aren't that actual company. And I'd say that's correct. We don't have to care about the environment, but the safe environment at work is everyone's prerogative. And there are ways where we can increase our allocation of resources, where we can improve on it, where we can get more profitability out of all our buildings if we just focus more on making the environment safer. Now, going into these topics, the environmental one is interesting because no matter what organization you are, if you're not using proper analytics for indoor environmental climate, I'm not saying you need to use 720 exactly. I mean, we have people who work in sales who will say exactly that. But what I will say is, if you are not using technology, you are over consuming your resources. You might say, okay, we do the bare minimum. Well, the bare minimum is actually causing a lot of unnecessary work. People might be complaining about it. You might not care, but they might be consuming resources. And then you might say, okay, well, we're doing the best we can. Well, you're doing the best you can, but you're probably over-consuming in trying to meet higher standards as well. Your unawareness in what the standards will be is draining your organization. Now, if you're one of our clients, which is quite likely still, please, you're not doing it wrong. It's just those who are. Now, applying IoT and analytics allows you to spend work hours for maintenance more effectively. It allows you to use less utilities, less energy, just from focusing on the indoor environment. I'm not talking about energy optimization. I'm talking about communicating more effectively with your tenants and occupants about what the limitations are and abilities are in the environment. Now, the social part here, 4% of all burden of disease on average in developed countries. Now we're talking about almost all of Europe is 4% still. So I'm not talking about extreme cases like some specific isolated regions with super poor particulate matter levels or poor air quality. I'm talking about the developed countries. So now this is 4% of all burden of disease. This is a huge number. And if you don't have particulate matter sensors in your building, you're about, and you're just going down that road and trying to figure out what to do with those sensors, you're about 5 years away from doing anything. Because sensors aren't the key here. As I mentioned earlier, using neural nets to predict with 9 days in advance with 95% precision is a key element to being able to do anything about the PM levels, because then you can react if there's long-term issues like filtration. You can react if there's windows open when they shouldn't be open. You're draining resources. You're also worsening the air quality indoors. You need to measure other things like indoor pollutants, so TVOC, toluene, formaldehyde. If you don't do that, then you don't know what the relationship between these environments are. And you are actually not decreasing the burden of disease. And now you might say as well, because this is not a conversation, I'm going to have to make up the most critical voice in the room. You might say, how does that affect the bottom line? It doesn't necessarily immediately, but since you might be 5 years away, we are there already. Our customers are there already. They are able to say, and in a couple of years, this will be public, which buildings have been taking care of this. Now, you might be in an environment where, for instance, COVID has affected how people use offices, how people move in environments. We want better environments. We want to have less space for offices. We want to work from home through some hybrid model. Some wish 10%, 20, 50, but there is some hybrid coming up. We want better environments. And once there's proof that there are better environments, there will be a shift. And you do not want to be on the bad side of that shift, because there's a lot of money in play for that one. So I'm really trying to connect the dots for the social, because it's going to take a while before everyone gets it. Now, governance, on the other hand, that's what the productivity. There's a lot of studies around productivity and about what productivity means and what it has as an impact on the bottom line in companies. And indoor climate and productivity is very hard to link together. You measure productivity by the grand goal usually of something like turnover. And so many things can affect that you can't attribute a single thing that easily. But what we do know is there's research which is very, very clear on, for instance, thermal comfort, on how that affects the productivity level and performance level, more accurately, of people. And we have the data to say what are the conditions where they can perform better. And when we come to what should be done in the building, we have the action categories. We have ventilation control, pollutant identification, transparency and communication, which should never be neglected. And really in this industry, people neglect it. People think that more data is just going to make things worse. No, not if you know how to communicate. We have change management for that exact reason. People are understanding about changes as long as they're communicated. That is true for leadership, and it's true for indoor climate. There's heating, there's cooling, filtration efficiency, resource right sizing. So where do you allocate your service personnel? Are you doing this on just covering all bases, or just reacting to things as they come along? And then, of course, airborne contagion mitigation. You need to check that the levels within the building, the area is diluted enough. If you do not, then you will have an issue with airborne contagions. Now, we might be passing along from this pandemic, but the communication will still be there about what is a good environment and how do contagions spread within the building. And there are safer ways to operate, and those are the ones we're communicating to our customers. Now there's increase of savings from right sizing. There's lower maintenance costs from decreasing IAQ issues. Utilities, we need to focus on that as well. But saving energy is also one place where you don't only need to save energy to save on the environment. There are other resources. We have a lot that we're consuming that's eating up the environment. And of course, higher satisfaction will lead to less churn in your buildings, whether it's employee churn or if it's churn from tenants in your buildings. Now, this is what I wanted to say on the sustainability topic, and what we want to do for customers, and how all of this is interlinked within AI and sustainability and indoor climate. I hope I've at least inspired some people to ask questions, whether you want to be the most critical person in the room, or if you want to just be nice to me. Either way is fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rick. We'll always be nice to you, so don't worry about that. Well, we have some time for a quick question. My question is, AI as artificial intelligence, I think there is a huge benefit for private business. Have you reached out to institutions, to state companies? Because I think this is what will change the dynamics of this existence when the nation states will support it within their institutional facilities, such as schools, ministries, etc. How do you think about this and cooperate with them?
Yeah, on many levels, because we have, of course, customers, municipalities, governments. We have as customers. We have administrations. So we have many schools which are monitored constantly. In many municipalities, we have government buildings, tax offices, police offices, and everything in between, and offices which we can't mention are monitored. But we also have a good relationship, which we've done a cooperation with the European Commission, where we have developed they gave us a grant for over €1 million to develop on this solution to be improved and to increase on the sustainability and office working process and productivity.
Thank you, Rick. One more quick question about work from home, work remote, home office. That's been terms that have been basically buzzwords throughout the whole of last year. Your business is focused on buildings, offices. How does it connect to this new trend of people just leaving big companies and just moving to small spaces, to their homes, etc.?
I think it's good. I think it should be increased. There's multiple aspects of it. Of course, we have a residential product as well, so we do offer this for homes as well, even for employers who want their employees to still take care of their working environment from home. Just as people buy chairs for their employees, they might now want to buy indoor environmental quality monitoring for the home. But there are other aspects to it, which is the office will be more important in the future, I think, for an actual purpose, for meeting people in person. And there we want to take extra steps to make this a high quality environment. So I think this will be extremely important for our sake. The pandemic hasn't been enjoyable for any individual, but as a company, this has sped up the progress for us and for the awareness of what we're doing a lot. And that's good.
Well, you truly are a 720 company. Then thank you very much, Rick.
Thank you.
Short summary before we move on to our last speaker. The pandemic has put the quality of air indoors amongst people's and companies' priority. That's logical. Be it as it may, it goes in hand with our sustainability goals, because we can improve sustainability by focusing on indoor air quality. And artificial intelligence is here to amplify it. It's the technology that has a lot to say in the future, be it construction, environment, health, or factory production. Artificial intelligence has the ability to be more precise, to use data, to use more data, to analyze them better, and improve automation systems. And 720 Degrees can provide such solutions for various types of buildings and businesses. And no matter what company you work for, using data technology to improve your business and environment today is a must. And if you are not doing that, you might be lagging behind. So this is all to our previous topic, and I would like to welcome Iveta Kralova from Ecofon. Hello, Iveta, can you hear me?
Hello, wishing you a nice day, all of you.
Hello, and Iveta will have a short presentation about acoustic well-being. Look forward for this, please.
Thank you. Hopefully you can see everything in order and you can hear me properly.
See and hear, yes.
Yeah. Thank you. My pleasure to be here with you. Thank you for the invitation. My name is Iveta. I work for Ecofon. I would like to introduce Ecofon very shortly. We are a Swedish company producing acoustic ceilings and wall absorbers. And I am very proud to say that we are not only a producer, but we put a big effort and big time to collaborate with different organizations and associations and universities to show a sound effect on people, because sound and acoustics influence us a lot, influence our behaviors, our productivity, as it was mentioned already, and our health too. I work as a key segments manager. Why it's called the key segments manager? Because Ecofon focus on three main pillars, three main topics, because we think that there are spaces which need to be solved acoustically. and it's the office segment or office sector, education and healthcare facilities mainly. There people talk, communicate, stay and live, and so it's important to create kind of acoustic comfort there. And because we moved to home office since last year we are on the home office, we can experience, and we have experiences also with the different sounds and noise. And some of them are pleasant, some of them are okay, but some of them are really disturbing. And we need to think about it. If there is a solution, if we can do something about it to feel better and comfortable. But I would like to go back or take step back, or better is to say take 1,000 years in a time, and to speak about our origin, background, because it's important to mention that we as human beings were developed outside, and our hearing has been developed outside too. What does it mean when talking about acoustics and sound? In or outdoors, usually the sound goes to our ears once, it bounces our ears once, and then it's gone. Comparing to the indoors, it's really another situation, yeah. So the hearing, it didn't change from that time. It still remains the same. And when coming indoors, and it's said that we spend more than 90% indoor, we need to take care about it, because the sound environment comparing the outdoor environment is really different. But within indoor, we can see, I put there 2 main examples. They are really different, but looking on the left, you can see a room. I would call it a room like 100 years ago, which can be fine. And there are many surfaces, materials and furniture. You can see there are sofas, tables, shelves, wardrobes, whatever. You can see there is a lot of textile. There are tapestry on the walls as well. And these all contribute to sound diffusion and also to sound absorption. So you can imagine being at home office in such a room. There will be no echo, there will be no noise. But when we see on the right today's apartments and flats, we can see that the materials has changed dramatically. We use a lot of glass, concrete, we use hard and reflective surfaces. What does it mean? It means that within such an interior, the sound energy is traveling within the room a little bit longer. How do we perceive it? We perceive it as an echo, as a higher noise level, and it's not good, for example, when you should talk online to somebody. Yeah, it's really different. And there is a solution. There is a solution. You can put barrier kind of material which will absorb the energy, because this is what we want to make it more pleasant. So we as Ecofon produce the materials. Of course, they are in line with the sustainability. We take care about the indoor air quality too. As Rick mentioned, it's very important because we add something into the room and we need to be sure that there are no emissions or very low emissions of CO2. There are no the volatile organic compounds like formaldehyde and such things, because we deliver this kind of material not only to interiors, I mean office segment, but to education. You can imagine that the pupils or children, today's children, sometimes they have asthma, they are allergic. So it's a really important topic to deliver healthy material indoors. And because I mentioned that we try to show the effect of the sound, I would like to share with you here one study. This study has been done by the ADHD organization in Denmark, which is the organization which takes care about the attention deficit of hyperactivity disorders. But in this case, they made a study in a classroom where were 28 pupils around 7-8 years old. They were without disorders. They were standard children, and they exposed them to the noisy and to the silent environment and asked them to draw a picture. You can see here a picture of Mila. He was drawing a tractor. You can just guess and assign which picture belongs to which environment. So here we can see a huge impact on, if we call it productivity or performance, it's up to you. But for me, it's not only performance, for me it's a behavior, because Mila felt somehow. So this is the message of this picture. The noisy environment do not only affect the performance, but also health. And I want to really highlight that health is something, and then the impact, it's not visible. It's hard to talk about it because it's not visible. But the primary consequences when we are exposed to a noisy environment for a long time can be, for example, it has impact on our autonomic system, like sweating, breathing frequency, heart rating, things like that, endocrine system, and stress level. We can see or we can feel stress level sometimes, yeah. Then the secondary consequences is blood pressure, higher blood pressure, blood clotting. And the last consequences I would like to mention, they are the manifest illness. They are called like manifest illness, which is, I think, crucial. There is no way back. You can't change it if you have kind of cardiovascular illness or diabetes. You have simple symptoms, you have the illness, and you have to live with this. So I think we should care about the indoor sound environment, because from the long perspective, it influences our health a lot. I was thinking to mention this, but I say, okay, it's from our daily life. So I want to show you one study again, where is it's our daily life. It's effect of the background noise on food perception. Everybody eats. We like drinking, eating. We miss restaurants this time, in these days. And the study investigated the effects of auditory background noise on the perception of gustatory food properties, like a sugar level and salt level. Also food crunchiness and food liking. And the participants consume differently foods while passively listening to either no sound or quiet background sound or loud background sound. And the food, they were then rated in terms of the sweetness, saltness, and the liking. The reported sweetness and saltness was significantly lower in the loud environment compared to the quiet sound environment. But the crunchiness was reported to be more intense. You can test yourself when you go to a restaurant, when the restaurants are open. How do you behave? For example, if there is a loud music and you should talk to your friend and you eat, how do you feel? Is it good, bad, or what about the salt and sugar? How do you feel it? If you can then compare, it would be interesting, I think, for everybody. And I would like to finish the presentation and talking about acoustics with the wish that everybody can influence in somehow, because we can't turn off our ears. It's simply not possible. By another senses, it's much more easier. For example, when your eyes are tired, you just close them. But you can't close your ears. You need to take care about your hearing system. And I would wish everybody, either for private or or working life to find a balance, to take care and probably to feel like outside somewhere in the forest, like in the picture, because this is the optimal sound environment. There is no echo. You are more productive and you feel better. This is what's going on. Thank you for your attention. I'm finished just now. Prepare for your questions.
Thank you, Iveta. Many topics that can be brought up, but I was looking when I was preparing for this presentation. I was looking at the main sources of noise, basically in the cities, and it is increasingly being urban environment. How should we protect ourselves from this all increasing noise that surrounds us? And it doesn't matter where we go. If we work in a company, I have a building behind me that is being built at the very moment we speak. When I come home, my neighbor is building something. What is the most resilient solution that you could advise us in the long term?
It's hard to say, but I think we as a society should take care more about things like, okay, if we build a building, if there is a construction site, it's probably, there is no limit, or we can't limit it. We can limit the outside noise, for example, that we do not travel or commute into the office by car when there is one person, because this is noisy as well. This is a source of the noise. Yeah, of course, when we talking about our home, yeah, there is another topic like your neighbors and noise from the neighbors and so on, and the materials which are used there. So probably even the walls and the floor, ceiling, how do we build, and what do we put there, like kind of insulation. How thick will be the insulation? It's important too, because then you can't hear your neighbors. If the insulation is thin, then you can hear your neighbors, and it's really disturbing. Yeah. So of course it's about behavior, and it's about me as a person, because there it starts. If I behave, I can call it sustainable. Yeah, not driving car just alone, but going in more people, for example, for travel business, for business trips, sorry. It can be the solution. We need to start by ourselves, and we need to look around and listen.
Thank you. One more follow-up question. We keep as a society, we are being more and more noisy and noisier. You showed us a picture of these wolves 100 years ago. People didn't speak so loud. I checked out the facts, and we are even being louder when we speak today. Maybe it's because surrounding is getting louder. But do you see this trajectory as well?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Comparing, for example, South countries, they are more louder, like a society in general, than we or in the North. But of course, when your surrounding is noisy and you want to talk, you talk louder and louder, because you want to over loud or over speak your surroundings. So this is kind of Lombard effect. So you are going higher and higher. It's very nice to see or observe when we do the treatment in a room. For example, it can be a classroom or office. Then when the environment is silent, and I don't want to say that silent means 100% silent. There is always some background noise, which is okay. Yeah. But then, for example, children, they behave differently. They pay attention, they are concentrated, because there is a comfort. It's comfortable environment. So they don't need to shout to each other, and the teacher don't need to speak louder and louder that the people or pupils at the end they can hear too. Yeah, so it's absolutely okay to have the treatment, and the sound is traveling as we need. Yeah, sometimes we need the sound travel more, sometimes not. We need to stop it.
Iveta, thank you very much for this interesting presentation and discussion. Thank you.
My pleasure. Have a nice day.
You too. Last but not least summary. As we heard, we are surrounded by a load of noise. We keep experiencing more sound and more noise as we live in the city, move to our home offices and commute. It affects us, our behavior, effectiveness, and health. There are spaces that need to be dealt with acoustically. Good materials are important, as wrong solutions will not solve our acoustic problems, or like increase their negative effects. And this is where Ecophon brings a great advantage. And it is important to bear in mind that every one of us can influence the way we live and we surround ourselves with. So this was our last presentation of our second panel. I would like to thank you all for your time and patience and your questions and insights. I would like to thank our panelists for joining us today and share best practices, their ideas, their motivations, why they do what they do. We had a nice time debating the ways we can think about sustainability and the future from the global perspective. And we also focused in the second part on our personal well-being, which I think is a great balance. I would like to thank Nordic Chamber for organizing this event with the support of embassies of Finland, Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and Iceland. We also organized this event in cooperation with the Confederation of Industry of the Czech Republic and Association of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises and Crafts. Before I will say hello to you and wish you a pleasant day, I would like to invite you for the next Sustainable Business and Circular Economy series, which will focus on smart cities and e-mobility on the 20th of May, responsible business on the 10th of June, and water management, 13th of October. We touched upon all of these topics today, so I think you are all involved and interested in these topics. I hope to see you during our next webinars. So have a nice day and think sustainably and be happy. Thank you. Bye.